Unsigned518. I am here with Scott Bravo. How's it going, man?
It is going splendidly.
And Calvin, I mean, everybody who listens to the show knows Calvin, but Calvin, the podcast dog, is hanging out, certainly. So we may get some interventions
some
from
sniffs.
him. Yeah, some sniffs, or maybe even a bark or two. You never know. Sometimes he does that. Oh, yeah, he wants to get up on the couch is what he wants.
Is he allowed?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, come on, bud. Come on.
Go ahead, pal.
Don't be nervous. Come on.
He's like,
Is it a trick?
I don't know.
Is this a trick? Come on, buddy.
There he goes.
Oh.
All right. Now that Calvin's settled in, we can get going.
Animals and babies, believe it or not, love me.
Yeah, me too. And it's funny. I'm not a parent.
Right.
Calvin's the first pet that I've ever owned, but my whole life, animals and babies have always. And with the babies, it always made sense because I'm always like, I'm just very close, like on the maturity level,
Right?
With that, like, so they fucking get me.
They see a team member.
Totally. They're like, hey, that guy's just like us.
That baby's got a beard.
Yeah, I bet you he thinks like poop is funny too. I'm like, you're right, baby.
Right.
Let's hang. But so we just met, 5 minutes ago or so. Yeah. But I have, we've been following each other on social for a while, and I'm gonna have to say I like your fire.
Oh, thank you.
I do want to talk maybe a little later on how you deal with people on social media because I applaud it. A lot of people say you just ignore the quote-unquote haters and you attack them head on and pull them
Some say encourage them.
Pull them out of their dirty little shadows and expose them. And I think that's, to me, that's the way to go.
Oh, all right. We could talk about that for sure.
We'll talk about that later. But I think what we want to do is, I always tell people to tell the story however they want, but I want to hear your story with music, how it shapes to where you are, I guess, now. So.
Okay, so as a musician, I fell in love with music very early. I had a much older babysitter. He drove. You'll picture this guy just by this. He drove his last name. He was Casamino. He drove an IROC Z. He drove a 1985 white IROC Z.
Nice.
So he's exactly who you're picturing. Cut off denim shorts.
I was just gonna say denim.
Yep.
Definitely in there. Maybe a Def Leppard back patch or something.
Yeah.
No?
And he would bring all these. He'd come over with a backpack full of Wasp and Ozzy Osbourne and all these things. And terrified, I grew up in a very, very small town in upstate New York. So I had never seen somebody like Ozzy Osbourne before. And I just got into music, rock, much to my parents' dismay, real rock and roll, heavy metal. And then I got older and I discovered the guitar. I had a friend that had a guitar and I liked to plink and plank around on it. And once I started playing guitar, and I realized I can do this by myself. Because I was a weird kid. I got, I didn't have a lot of friends. So once I realized I can do this by myself, there's no standards. There's no one telling me I'm doing it wrong or judging me. That's all I did. I took it everywhere, man. I used to walk up and down the street playing it. I took it to school with me. I took it everywhere. And it's all I wanted to do was play guitar from about 15 years old.
And when you say, you picked it up and like the no one can tell you what to do or no one can tell you, that's like a recurring theme kind of that I hear with people a lot on the show is it's that freedom to just be able to fumble through and whatever. And, you don't have to have that like rigid, like learning something. And I mean, I do think the fundamentals are good to learn later.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, I think the fumbling around is important because think of how many people took piano lessons and fucking hated it.
Right.
That like and your girlfriend is raising her hand. Hi, Melissa.
Melissa is here.
Yeah, we don't pretend that we're like a professional operation here.
The ever present.
By the way, so if you need to chime in, feel free. This is not this is not a sanitary studio. But yeah, they're like people who took lessons first, and you end up fucking hating it.
Yeah.
Because you're like, this is But if you just had a piano sitting in your room or a keyboard in your room and you were fumbling around with it and you started making your own sounds and then you were like, I'd like to learn more about this.
Yeah.
And then you took piano lessons. To me, I think that would be
Sure.
the way to go.
You know, anything, who was it Aristotle that said anything learned under compulsion will have no hold on the mind? There was the freedom. There was this is mine.
Right.
And everything I do, it comes from me. And then once I learned how to craft songs and started writing my own songs, that is the best feeling in the world when you're like, and it's you know, people accuse musicians of having egos, and well, kind of, because we take silence where there is nothing and we make something. And that's kind of hard not to be like, I created this magical thing.
And I mean, the ego doesn't necessarily have to be a bad thing.
Right.
You know what I mean? An inflated ego,
Right.
or like a narcissistic ego could be, but like
an unearned ego.
I wouldn't necessarily want to go see an artist that's like, oh yeah, it kind of sucks.
Hope you like it.
I don't even really like it. You know, like,
Right.
you know, I'd rather.
Sorry about this, everybody.
Yeah, I'd rather see somebody be like, yeah, I wrote this song and it's
a great
fucking
song.
awesome. You know,
Yeah.
check it out.
And plus, what we have, I mean, like we'll talk later about social media, but when you're a presence on social media, we have to deal with so much. Like, very few people are going to go into work on Monday and hear about how they suck,
Right.
or how someone's going to come up to their desk and just berate them. But we have to deal with a lot of stuff that people don't have to deal with, and I think that sort of makes you sort of build up this exterior, this self-confidence that can appear to be arrogance or ego. Sometimes it is, but it can also just be insecure self-defense. Because we do have to put up with a lot.
Yeah, and that is true. I mean, and I guess we can talk about it now, but like, you take when someone says something shitty or something stupid, or and I mean, it's so easy for people to just write something stupid. And
Right.
like I always say, like in my head, like, and we were talking, as you get older and you're not as angry or not as actionable
Right.
about my anger. Like I always think, like, would that person say that to me if we were sitting
Never.
at a bar?
Of course not.
Like, no.
For a variety of reasons.
Yeah, and then not like in a like, oh, look at me, I'm physically intimidating. You would never say that to me in person, but like it's true.
Right.
You wouldn't just sit down next to someone, or like if you were playing guitar at a bar and someone would just walk up to you and be like, "Duh, your nails are painted."
Right. Nice nails, home. Right.
And then like turn around and go sit back down. Like nobody would ever fucking do that.
I did have one guy in Connecticut who kept yelling Tom Petty covers, and I wouldn't do it. And then he sat right in the front row, and he leaned back and started doing this.
The thumbs.
And like looking at me in the eyes, making this. So that happens every now and again. But so I
respect to that guy.
Yeah,
for like,
it was funny. Like
putting it out there and not being a keyboard warrior.
I don't mind that you suck. If you want to tell me I suck at the guitar, let's talk about it. How do I suck?
Right.
Like if because maybe I do. Maybe I do suck, and you have something to offer me. If Tommy Emmanuel comes on my live and goes, "You suck," well, let's talk about it, Tommy. But the things I get into are like the social issues. Like I am not gonna. I do have causes, and I'm very vocal about my causes. And I was raised. My parents were extremely the other side of social justice, anything. But they did tell me to stand up for myself. And I was a BOCES kid. You guys have BOCES up here.
Yeah.
So I was a special ed kid my whole life, and I watched my classmates get picked on mercilessly, and I never stood for it. I never put up with it. And as an adult, I'm not going to put up with it either. So if I see something horrible, I'm gonna talk about it. And it gets me into trouble, but not real trouble.
Yeah, not real trouble.
I'm not losing anything.
Not trouble with anybody of any kind of consequence. Just a bunch of trolls that
right. Yeah. Well, William Burroughs had a great quote. He said, "People can hate me if they want. The question is, are they in a position to do anything about it?"
Right, and they're
it's
not.
like, hate me all you want. That's what are you gonna? They hate Taylor Swift. I mean, how do you? Right. How do you hate her? Like, if you're gonna talk shit about Taylor Swift or Mr. Rogers, what hope do I have of getting on and off the internet with no consternation?
Yeah, and what is funny is like I'm not like as vocal. Like I'm certainly like I have my causes that I'm vocal about, but like I don't get a lot of people talking too much shit about me. But my instinct now is to just block.
Right.
Immediately.
Certain things
I don't even respond. Like I just block immediately.
I have certain lines where if you say something, then there's no talking to you. There's some people you just can't talk to.
Right.
And there's no.
Yeah, because like really, what you're saying, like your retorts to the people, clearly it's done, with full on sarcasm, but the words themselves are offering a solution. Like, oh, if you think I suck, like let's talk.
Right.
Let's talk and
did
tell
I use
me
the
how
wrong
I
scale?
can improve.
Right. Did I use the
mean?
wrong chord progression? What did I do here?
Yeah. So in reality, it would be funny if some of the people were like, yeah, actually, like when you went from that E7 over to that, it'd be much better if you brought the suspended,
yeah, great. I mean, that's that, and that would be. I always ask them. I go, how come I'm friends with the best musicians on the planet? Why aren't they in my comments? Like, it's like, I don't know. At some point, and I'm painfully immature. There's also that, like, I should be to the point at this age where I go, I'm not entertaining any of this. But I do have that spark of childishness that's like,
right.
Okay, we can do this. I don't play video games. I'm not reading enough books. I've got too much free time. We can do this. It's okay.
Yeah, there was a time like I was on Twitter. I mean, this is 5-6 years ago or whatever. But there was a lot of issues happening, and some that I was very vocal on, like I won't get into it here because I don't need to divide anybody. But like I was being very and like people were coming at me, and I found that the more vitriol that they were coming at me with, the more justified I felt in my comment, and like I began to like almost like need it. So like I'd like wake up in the morning and I'd like look at my inbox, and I'd be like, this guy wants me to go kill myself.
Right. A lot of people trying to rape me.
I must have said something like, pretty good, and I found that I was like kind of liking it, you know what I mean? And then like I realized, I'm like, dude, I can't, like, this is a bad fucking road for me to be going down.
It'll make you physically sick.
Yeah, and then so I just like deleted the whole app, and I was just like, I'm done. Oh my God, like. Because I was literally like, hey, check it out. This guy told me to eat a shotgun.
I used to read the comments to my kids on the bus. I'd read the comments, and I'd have a response, and I'd put it up, and I'd let my kids respond to me, like with grammar stuff. And I'd be like, hey, guys, what's the grammatically correct way to say this? And then I would go, what grade did you learn that in? And they would go first, and I would go,
Yeah, I love it. Because and again, the right thing to do is to just be silent, but it's not the right thing to do.
And it's
sometimes.
so clowned. Like,
because why do they get to be loud and obnoxious and like we have to like play by the rules and shit?
Right.
Fuck that.
Or they go, why do you hate so? And I go, you're just silly. I don't hate you. I just think you're goofy. Like it's like, you don't hate a clown. If a clown runs out of the parade and throws candy at you, you don't go, I hate that clown. You go, that's really silly. That's really goofy.
But I'll take the candy, clown.
I'll take the engagement. Right.
Thank you for that.
Keep it coming.
I'll eat Tootsie Rolls off hot pavement any day. Yeah.
Another great band name or possibly song title. This is how song titles happen for me, so careful. You might end up on an album.
All right.
Tootsie Rolls on hot pavement.
Tootsie Rolls on hot pavement. I love it. So, we got off topic as I always do. But we want to listen to some music.
Great.
So what is the first song that you're gonna play for us?
This song is called A Stealthy Mess. And it was written about just like there's one of my favorite guitar players is Pierre Ben Suzanne, and he doesn't really seem to care all that much about time, maybe I just can't count. Both options are viable, and I wanted to write a song that was very Pierre-esque, so I wrote A Stealthy Mess, which is sort of in and out of time, and it's got a really cool solo in it, and yeah.
All right, cool. Well, let's check out A Stealthy Mess, Scott Bravo, and then we'll be right back. That was A Stealthy Mess, Scott Bravo. And, Scott, you were saying while we were listening to the song that you just recently moved to the area.
Yes.
So I guess tell us a little bit about where you came from and what you got going on now.
On Friday, I moved up. I moved up here. It's pretty recent. I came from New York City. Ish.
Heard of it.
You're familiar.
I've heard of it.
Oh, good. You've heard tale told.
I have heard tale.
And I moved up here with Melissa. We've had a relationship for quite some time, and I just decided now's the time. Now's the time to come up back to upstate. I grew up here.
Okay.
I never in a million years envisioned ending up back in upstate, but you know how life goes.
I do. And have you found you've coming from this area now coming back, and I guess it's probably pretty new since you said it was just Friday and we're recording on Sunday, so we're talking like 48 hours or so. But I guess we'll check in a couple months. But I want to see how you feel about the scene here with once you start gigging and getting in with all the bands and seeing how everybody works together.
Yes,
is that something that you saw a lot down where you were as well?
No. Is there a more emphatic word than no? Absolutely not.
Fuck no.
No, fuck no.
Yeah.
New York City, if anyone is considering moving to New York City and you haven't made it yet, quote unquote made it,
right.
Fucking don't. That is not where you move to make it. That is where you move once you have made it, because New York City, it's not a music town. It's a fashion town. So the venues don't care about you. The crowds don't care about you. Venues will say stuff like, all right, great, we'll book you on Wednesday at 11 p.m. and you have to bring 20 people and we're taking the first 15.
Yeah.
And they don't care about they care about their money.
Right.
That's what they care about. And I found that up here, it's the exact opposite. In most venues I've been dealing with, they offered me money right off the bat. Didn't ask me how many people you're going to draw, how many people you're going to bring. The bands tend to be much less competitive. It appears this so far.
It is. It's true.
There's more of a scene. Yeah. There's no scene down there. Right. There was a punk hardcore scene in Queens and Brooklyn, but there's no real scene. And especially for me, being an instrumental acoustic guitarist. So I'm hoping to just come up here and blow everybody's socks off and try to make a. I found that I've done better in smaller towns. New York City was not good for my career.
And it's funny that you say that, with the having to bring in draw, because I got an email several months ago, and it still just perplexes me, but it was from a venue down in the city, and my band is a very small local band, we're not a regional band, we're not big, we're we play Albany, Saratoga, right in here. So first of all, I was how the fuck did you even find out about me?
Right.
But then they sent us an email and were hey, we want you to come down and play here. And it was the longest list of qualifications that I've ever seen in my life.
Right.
And again, you like you said, it was a Wednesday at 7:00, and it was you have to guarantee us 50 people,
and it's next Wednesday,
right? And and it was just I was I couldn't guarantee you. I don't fucking know anybody down there.
Right.
Why are you it was just wild.
Yeah.
And it's. I thought it was an anomaly.
No,
I was that's crazy.
I did a show and I didn't sell any tickets. I didn't know it was my job. I'm not a promoter.
Right.
So I showed up and they were like, oh yeah, it's you owe us $250. And I was like, what? And they were like, yeah, the deal was you had to sell this many tickets. I go, it's not my job to sell tickets. You're the venue. Do you think John Mayer goes out, not to compare myself to John Mayer, but you think he's out on the corner selling tickets?
And it's also if you have a promoter,
right.
That's what the promoter
That's
does.
Sort of their job, yeah.
Yeah, the promoter promotes the show.
Most venues now, they don't have promoters, they don't have bookers. It's the manager, it's the owner cooking the food and sending the emails. And I don't know how anyone. If anyone out there, you're contemplating getting into the music business for the business part of it,
right.
Don't.
Right.
I do like the fact, or what I perceive to be the fact, that this is going to create musicians who want to be musicians, who will sleep in their car, live on ramen
go
noodles,
through the mill,
do the shit to be, because for the past 20 years it's been anybody can afford instruments, anybody can get gigs, and it's sort of created havoc out there for those of us that are trying to make a living or trying to make a name for ourselves doing this. And I think to watch it go back to where the part-timers are going to go, fuck this.
Right.
I'm not doing it. That's kind of a good thing, maybe. I mean, I don't know. I might change my mind in an hour.
No, I mean, it makes sense, because I'm, like I said, in that, like, we're just small time, and, like,
Right.
we don't even play, like, the big venues around here, like, but, like, I think you almost need that, like you said, the struggle.
Yeah.
Like, the people that are willing to go through it. Because, like, that's why we only, because I'm not fucking willing to go through it.
Or just do it for
like,
fun. I mean, if you're doing
right,
it for
I'm
fun,
doing it for
that's-
fun,
yeah,
and
that's-
it's
that's a different
hilariously
thing.
fun. And, like,
Yeah.
when we play gigs, like, we don't even really care what we get for money.
Yeah.
Like, we get, we'll get some money. We'll be like, cool. But, like, we're doing it because it's,
Yeah.
like, super fun. But, like, we're also not competing.
Right.
So, like, to have people competing that are just treating it for fun has got to be shitty,
Yeah, and I've never, even in my genre, which is acoustic instrumental fingerstyle, guys don't want to share information. I've never been one of those guys. You want to know the booker's name to whatever venue, you can have it. Right. You want to know and the guys in the genre, you ask them, hey, how did you do this? And they go, well, I don't know. What do you mean you don't know? Did you not play on that stage? You have no idea?
Right.
I don't think we're going to run into that up here. I think up here is going to be much more open.
Oh, it is 100%. And like,
yeah.
Even with, I know a lot of the bands, and I know bands that are, regional that play outside of here and come back here. And it is true. Like I think it's like special that like you have, rappers and punk rockers and folk singers and, indie bands and singer-songwriters that all know each other.
Yeah.
And all like help each other out. Like,
and they're complementary.
Yeah. And they're not in the same genre at all.
Right.
But they help each other out and like, repost each other's shit on Instagram.
Yeah.
Just simple things that say, hey, we like each other and we actually really like each other,
It's not hard.
Yeah.
I did an open mic at, what was it, 518 Craft? And the musicians in the room were so complimentary to the point where I was embarrassed. And it was like, I don't want these compliments. But as opposed to in New York, when you could do, I mean, I've done on stage things I think are incredible. I look out at the crowd and they're like talking to each other.
Right. Nobody's paying attention.
It's like, what do I have to do? What do you want me to do up here? I don't know. So I'm very excited about being up here for not only that, but obviously Melissa here. And I never thought I would say I'm excited to be back living in upstate New York, but I'm going to make the most of it.
And music-wise, it'll be good because, and like you said, how those musicians in the crowd, like, you will see that.
It'll be nice.
At like almost every show that I go to, I'm like, oh, there's so-and-so from that band. There's so-and-so from that band. There's so-and-so there. There's people show up and
that'll be cool.
And help each other out.
And not being annoyed. Everyone thinks New York City, the hardest part's the expensive part. That's the easy part. You're going to make enough money to live there. The hard part is, are you willing to be annoyed every fucking minute of every day? If you're not, New York City is not for you.
I'm not.
And it was not for me. So
well, I mean, like you said, when you pulled into my driveway, you're like, wow, we are in the country.
Yeah.
I was like, yes, we are. Like right where I like it.
You don't know how good you have it with parking lots.
Oh, I do know
so
how
you go
good
to the
I have
grocery
it.
store down there and you're like,
And you can't see it because the driveway is iced over because we've got an ice storm and I'm fucking lazy. But where
leisurely,
you guys, leisurely,
yeah,
yes.
yeah.
Where you guys parked, we actually have painted parking lines and everything. So it's like it's nice. We can fit
That's cool.
7 cars in my driveway. It's
That's
amazing. Yeah, and we don't have to worry about going to the grocery store.
Yep.
Don't have to worry about parking.
You don't have. It doesn't take an hour and a half to go 4 miles.
Yeah. And plus, for me, I grew up in Vermont. I grew up in the country. I just can't deal with the fact of having that many people around me.
Right.
I don't even care
Right.
if I'm in my apartment, just knowing that there's people above me, below me, to the left, to the right. There's people
Right.
everywhere. I'm like, no.
I never thought of that. You're surrounded by people.
I'm surrounded by people. I just don't.
Yep.
I don't like where we are sitting right here. Like the closest human being to us is however many hundreds of yards away, and that's fine. There's nobody above us. There's nobody.
You don't want to put
below
1,000 people in this room and try to function?
No, I do not. I don't want to build it upwards. Yeah, no, I like it out here.
Yeah.
And, I like the fact that I can look out my window and we live next door to a horse farm.
Yeah.
So it's like, Calvin doesn't like it. Calvin hates the horse, or he's scared of the horses.
He doesn't like horses?
No, he gets mad at him whenever he sees them.
True?
He's
like, why did you wake me up?
He's like, yeah, it's true. Fuck those horses.
You woke me up to talk about horses, you son of a bitch. I'm sleeping over here.
Yeah.
Adorable.
Yeah, that's Calvin. Well, I think we should probably hear another song.
Okay.
So what were we going to hear this time?
We're going to hear, this song has some cello in it.
Nice.
The song is called The Syracuse Problem. And it's both a math problem and my nickname in high school. Huh. No, it wasn't my nickname in high school. But it is, in fact, a math problem. And I'm from Syracuse, so there you go.
All right, cool. Well, let's hear The Syracuse Problem, Scott Bravo, and then we'll be right back to wrap it up. So that was a Syracuse Problem, Scott Bravo. And Scott, I want to thank you so much for taking time out of your day to come up and do this with me. And before we go, like I do with all my guests, I want to give you a chance to say what I refer to you as your gratitudes.
All right. Well, thank you for having me up here to do this. This is fantastic. I'm grateful for literally, a lot of people make this business about popularity, and I'm grateful for every single person that likes my music. I never in my life thought, being a kid sitting on my bed playing guitar, that anybody would listen to my music. And apparently 116 countries, people in those countries like my music, and that's so mind-blowing to me. So above everything else, I'm grateful for people that like music in general and my music specifically, and also to Melissa, because Melissa has been a force, a real force in my life for a while now. So I'm grateful to her for that, seeing through all the mishigas. Yeah.
All right. So he is Scott Bravo. I am Andy Scullin. This is Unsigned518. I'll see you on the road. Unsigned518 is produced and hosted by me, Andy Scullin. New episodes are available every week wherever you stream podcasts. If If you'd like to help support the show, please like and subscribe wherever you are listening, or you could buy me a coffee at buymeacoffee.com/unsigned518. If you would like to advertise on the show, send me an email at unsigned518@gmail.com. And to be a guest on the show, reach out to me through Instagram at Unsigned518. Take care of one another, and I'll see you next week.